Hello and welcome to the Burnout podcast by Focus on the Family Singapore. In each podcast, we'll be tackling questions that parents are asking about family life, parenting, work life, and so much more. So join us on this journey of discovery together.
Hello and welcome to the Burnout podcast. My name is June and I'm your host for this episode. Parents today seem to juggle it all: careers, kids, and the pressure to get everything just right. This constant strain may build up and lead to burnout that goes unnoticed until it gets too overwhelming. So joining us today to talk about burnout is Mylene Lee, a registered counsellor, clinical supervisor, and a coach as well. She'll be sharing a bit more about how burnout arises and also how to overcome burnout. So welcome to our Burnout podcast, Mylene. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, June. I've been a counsellor for about 10 years. And outside my professional life, I'm married with 2 young girls, aged 4 and 3. I'm currently self-employed, running my company, Upworkz Consulting, where I focus on individual sessions, trainings, and workshops that help people grow personally and professionally. I'm really passionate about this topic, June, because parenthood is sacred. But it's also one of the easiest places to lose yourself. As a mother, I know how constantly giving can leave you depleted. Instead of burning bright, sometimes we burn out. Over time, I've discovered something powerful. Burnout often begins when we fuse our identity with our roles. We forget that before we were a dad or a mom, we were whole, vibrant people with a life uniquely our own. Recognizing this distinction is crucial in preventing and overcoming burnout. And my passion is to help fathers and mothers reconnect with who they are, guide them back to their inner spark, and remind them that they are far more than the roles they hold. Because when a father or mother reconnects with themselves, their light not only returns, it radiates to everyone around them.
Wow, thank you for that insightful introduction. I picked up a few keywords, right? When you said fusing our identity with our role. I think that is so interesting and perhaps something that we can explore a little further through this conversation. But I thought as we start out on this topic, from your experience as a counsellor, what are some common signs and symptoms of burnout that you have noticed in the people coming to you?
So one of the signs I notice is first, decision-making driven by guilt, obligation, or fear of judgment, rather than by your own values or needs. Another is struggling to set boundaries, where saying no actually feels so impossible. So let me give you an example, June. And also imagine a very long, exhausting week you have, and all you really need is just rest. But you actually feel guilty for taking that time to rest because your child calls you, "Mommy, come and play with me." So even though your body and mind are actually calling for rest, you get up to entertain your child, leaving yourself drained. And in that moment, your choice is driven by guilt rather than your own need for care. So I also see that these pressures often show up in coping patterns like over-functioning, where I need to push harder. Hyper-dependence, I must handle it all by myself. Or perfectionism, I cannot show weakness. I must be the strong father or mother who holds everything together. Let me share with you, these aren't flaws. They are just responses to prolonged stress. But when they become our default way of living, burnout often follows. But June, you know what's the good news? The good news is just simply noticing these patterns is powerful, because by noticing it, we can take the first step to pause, to care for ourselves before exhaustion takes over.
When you mentioned that example of the mom getting up from actually what she needed most, which is rest, in order to entertain the child. It is driven by guilt rather than understanding that what we needed most at that moment was caring for ourselves.
Yes.
And sometimes this is so blurred in the whole parenting project, if you like. And it's so easy to give in to the constant demands of our family, of our children. And very often it's out of love for them, right?
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that so many moms then, or even dad, feel so tired and drained because of this constant meeting of needs and this constant ignoring of our own needs.
Yeah.
If I'm a parent out there and I'm kind of struggling with this day in, day out, at which point does the daily stress of parenting as well as work and other responsibilities cross into the unhealthy realm of burnout?
Firstly, let's define what is parenting stress. We all go through parenting stress as parents. It's normal. It's like you have a busy week, or, I always have to take care of my children when they are sick sometimes, and it can be really draining. But this is temporary, and you usually bounce back with rest or support. Whereas parental burnout is different because it's long-term, and there's a deep exhaustion where you feel in the physical, emotional, and mental. So you actually feel drained and disconnected from others. And like nothing you do is enough. Because I feel that it is like you are giving from an empty cup. So burnout doesn't really disappear on its own. It often requires professional support or lifestyle changes to recover.
What are some common factors that lead to this very prolonged sense of burnout?
So I think when we talk about common factors that lead to burnout, it's usually a mix of two pressures. I'd like to talk about the external and the internal. So first is external, when the demands of parenting keeps piling up, but your resources, your support, your time, or emotional energy keeps running low. And secondly, I believe it's also internal, where your identity becomes so tied to being a parent, which is what I shared earlier, that you start to lose touch with who you are inside. When your whole sense of worth comes from what you do for others, it's so easy to forget your own needs and limits. Let me give an example to illustrate this. So imagine a mom, she works all day, and then she come home, she still have to care for her little one, manage the house, keep everything going, while maybe her husband is working late. So with family far away and no time for herself, no exercise, no rest, no quiet moments, this constant demand without renewal slowly drain her energy and spirit. And over time, this imbalance between high demands, low resources, and not forgetting a lost sense of self is what leads to parental burnout. So to me, I personally believe that burnout isn't just about doing too much. It's also about losing too much of yourself in the process.
It seems like when you spoke about the internal part, when our identity becomes so tied up with being a parent and we lose touch with who we are. I think this is something that's really very common, especially among perhaps younger moms or younger dads, where there is so much to do and there is so much love and joy as well in parenting, but also just so much responsibility. And out of love, right, we continue to give, and sometimes we struggle, as you mentioned, and we forget that we are losing touch with ourselves or losing that sense of self that we once had. I'm wondering also, what are some of the common effects of burnout, not just on parents, but also on the family? Do the children notice it, or do they feel the effects as well?
Yes. Parental burnout affects both parents and children. Again, like I mentioned just now, internally and externally. So we will be looking at both of this. So for parents, internally, it actually causes emotional exhaustion, mental fatigue, and a loss of joy in parenting, like what you were sharing. It's like just too much responsibility. You may also experience a tug of war between who you truly are and who you feel you should be. That leaves you disconnected from yourself and others. Externally, it may show up as physical tiredness, irritability where you shout at your husband or your wife or your children, or withdrawal from family interactions. You just don't want to have anything to do with them. Likewise, children are affected too. Internally, they may sense stress and respond with anxiety, insecurity, or guilt, wondering if they caused the parental burnout. Externally, that they might act out, withdraw, or regress in certain behaviors. So overall, I would like to say burnout impacts the whole family's emotional climate, which is why caring for yourself is in fact caring for your family.
Yeah, so in this sense, it's so important that we learn to care for ourselves first, right?
Yeah.
And not continue on in this path that could lead to a lot of ill effect, as you said. You know, even the children are affected by our tiredness and irritable moods. I can really relate to what you said. There's so many shoulds that we give ourselves. I should do this, I should do that. So and so is doing it. How come I'm not able to cope, right? For parents out there who are actually finding themselves in this unhealthy place, what strategies or tips can they use to begin to recover from this burnout?
Let me share that recovering from burnout starts with you taking care of yourself. So firstly, taking care of your well-being, your body, your mind, your spirit. Get enough rest. Eat well. Move your body. Take little moments in a day to recharge and do it throughout the day, because self-care isn't selfish. It is essential. Secondly, focus on what truly matters each day. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Decide what's important and let the rest wait, or ask for help. So give an example. The dishes can wait, but your child asking you to tuck them in cannot. In this example, when you choose presence over perfection, you nourish what truly matters. And you realize that meeting your responsibilities doesn't have to come at the cost of your peace of mind. And lastly, I love this. Don't forget to celebrate yourself. Celebrate the small wins. Every little thing counts. The quiet joys, the moment that makes you feel alive. Oh, for me, it's that first sip of coffee in the morning.
Oh, same here.
Yeah. Laughing with your child, or just simply acknowledging your own efforts. This moment adds up. They remind you that life just isn't about doing. It's about being. We are human beings, not human doings. Therefore, burnout is a signal, a gentle reminder to pause, nurture yourself, and return to what sustains you.
I love some of the things that you said, choosing presence over perfection.
Yes.
I need to remember that each time I'm facing like a full sink of dirty dishes, right?
Yes, so
and
true.
my child is just waiting for me to play with him or to just say goodnight for the day. Yeah, and the little things, right? Like celebrating ourselves, the small wins, not just for ourselves, but also for our family. Are there other support systems or resources that we could consider seeking out?
Yes, burnout is real, let me say, but parents don't have to face it alone. So example, you can lean on family and friends for emotional support or a helping hand. Or, there's a lot of parenting groups out there. You can join parenting groups to share tips and experiences. Professionally, you can talk to a counselor or coach to help you manage your stress and reconnect with yourself. At workplaces, there are also flexible workplace arrangement or employee assistance programs. I encourage you to tap on these resources if you have those. Additionally, faith or spiritual communities can be a grounding source and encouragement too. And not forget, even practical help like babysitting, meal preparation, or just childcare can simply make such a big difference. So let me go back to what I shared earlier, June. We see burnout doesn't disappear just by working hard. It requires intentional rest, clear boundaries, and support. So therefore, combining both internal strategies, like the self-care that I shared earlier, reflection, presence, celebrating yourself, and the external resource that we are talking about, leaning on family, friends, the faith communities, practical help, all of this together is what is most effective.
It's like an ecosystem, right?
Yes.
Where we are able to tap into other sources of help just to support us in our times of need so that we can have a good rest or just clear our minds and also our calendars, along the way. And earlier you mentioned about boundaries. I'm thinking this boundary thing is not easy for parents, and especially in today's context where the technology is around us all the time.
Yeah.
Personally, sometimes I too find it hard to take a pause and to shut down from work and to enjoy family life with my husband and my kids. Do you have any tips on how parents can create better boundaries for themselves between work and family in order to reduce this burnout?
This is a question that everybody is asking, how to find work-life balance. Yeah, but my personal take is boundaries isn't about balancing everything perfectly. It is about clarity, knowing what truly matters right now. So perhaps it is to ask yourself, what are my top 3 priorities this season in my life? And let those guide your yes and no. In the work that I do, I see many parents feeling very guilty saying no. So maybe let me give a tip for this. I encourage you to flip the script. Instead of thinking, I'm saying no, remind myself, I'm saying yes to my health, my family, and my focus. So you see, June, whenever we actually say no to something, in fact, we are saying yes to something more important. So therefore, we can reframe and look at boundaries are not barriers. They are actually acts of care for you and for your family. So by choosing from your priorities, you make decisions based on values and not pressure. That's how boundaries become life-giving and not draining.
Flip the script. I really like that. And I also like what you said about really knowing and recognizing our priorities in that season and making our choices based on that intentionally, and not just letting every demand or every whim of life just drive us along this path. Are there other small habits that can help prevent or help to alleviate this sense of burnout? Small daily habits.
So here's a simple, powerful habit that we can all practice. So we can ask ourselves each day, am I performing my role or am I living in it? You might be wondering what's the difference between performing and living. So performing your role feels like a chore, just now what we talked about, obligation, I must, I should. While living your role feels like pouring from a full cup. Wow, as I think about it, I just feel so free. Yeah, because you show up as your true self, you refresh yourself, and that's not it. You also energize others. So just to give an example of living my role. So one of my core qualities in life is being loving. I feel so alive as a mother, as a counselor, as a coach when I bring that loving self into my roles. And just recently, my 4-year-old actually said to me, Mommy, you take very good care of us. At that same time, a client sent me a thank you note after just 2 sessions.
Wow.
Yeah, and as I reflect back, it wasn't just about me doing more, because my daughter is every time complaining, Mommy, you have no time to play with me. And with my client, it was just only 2 sessions. Friends, the key is it was about me showing up fully as myself. So today, I invite all of you to take a moment with me to reflect on a role you play, be it at home or at work, and ask yourself, am I doing this from obligation or from my true, authentic self? And what would it be like if I were to bring a little more of my true self into my role today? I just want to encourage all of you out there, even a small shift towards authenticity changes your energy and your presence. And do remember, you are not your roles. Success isn't about doing more. It's about being fully you in each role. So today, let's pause. Let's take a deep breath in and ask ourselves, am I performing or am I living my role? Because your energy, your joy, your presence, they depend on it.
It's about being fully you in each role. And even as I hear you, I can really sense the aliveness that you bring right into each of your unique roles. What an encouragement to you that, your 4-year-old actually said what she said. Yeah. I thought that was so sweet. So it's really great to have you here, Mylene. It's been a real joy listening to you share your insights on burnout and also on some ways to cope and to recover from burnout. Before we let you go, do you have any last words of encouragement that you'd like to leave with our listeners out there?
Yes. If you are feeling the weight of parenting or sensing burnout creeping in, remember this. You are not failing. You are human. So pause, breathe, tend to yourself, because small acts of care today will grow strength for tomorrow. And all of you out there, show up as your true self, and you won't just survive parenting. You will shine in it.
That's wonderful to hear. Thanks so much again for being here with us. For more of our parenting resources, head to family.org.sg/subscribe. And if today's episode resonated with you, do remember to hit the follow button to stay connected. Leave us a review or share the episode with a friend or your community. That's all we have for today. Do keep tuning in to the ParentNet podcast to learn and grow in your parenting journey.